Man, this is spiraling out of control. This situation is spiraling out of control. Now, whereas an eye for an eye is justice, they also say that it makes the whole world blind. Prosecutors seek death penalty for Rodney Hinton Jr. in the deputy murder case. So this is the story about the father who ran over a police officer because the day before he saw that his 18-year-old son was shot and killed by the police. Now, I don't condone this at all. I don't believe that this is the right way to go about it, because his son was involved in stealing a car. He had a gun in his hand, and he was running away, but he was stealing a car, so they caught him in the act. Was the officer's life in danger? No, it wasn't. But it could have been. It would have only took a second. The gun was in his hand, but he didn't point the gun at the police officer, as some people are claiming. And so, while I don't condone it, I can understand a father who loves his son so damn much, and then someone took something that was yours away from you, that you just snapped, you just got pissed off. You took one of mine, I took one of yours. And the reason why I mention this is because they're going to try to, push this case as hard as they can. They've already done a perp walk. He had to walk into a courtroom with, 30 to 50 police officers. There was a loud disturbance with the brother saying he just wanted him to see him. He was knocking on the window. So I don't condone it. I do understand it. And so now what I'm looking at is this guy's probably going to get life in prison, right? But since they're pushing for capital punishment, well, they're going to make a martyr out of him. You think that's going to deter? I mean, life in prison that's a pretty crappy deal. The guy knew that the consequences for running a police officer over wasn't going to be a walk in the park. So I think when I see the lawyers, when I see the family, when I see people that are standing up and speaking up about this, I can understand the lawyer's perspective. I can understand the family's perspective. Okay, put him in jail for a really long time. But we're not going to let you kill him. We're not going to let you put him on death row. You're not going to put him in front of a firing squad. You're not going to electrocute him. You're not going to give him a 3-drug cocktail. The lawyer at the, first hearing, he had said, can you understand when somebody's going through some mental health? And then he asked the police officer if he knew any kind of mental health or anything. And so that seems to be the perspective. There's I don't know Ohio law, but I know Kentucky law, because I was looking at that Mickey Stein's case, Letcher County, and it says that, just cold-blooded, calculated, deliberate murder is wrong, right? First-degree murder in Kentucky is wrong. It's a felony, which could, give you life, or it could be a capital offense. But the big exception is unless you're under extreme emotional disturbance, which is a hell of a loophole to write right into the law, and that's the top murder charge. Unless there's extreme emotional disturbance. Unless there's extreme emotional disturbance. Well, he just saw his son get shot and killed. If a mother or father loves their children, that's never a good look. That's never something that should sit well with a good person. A good person who loves their children. You just saw your child get shot up. there was that recent explosion. There was a recent explosion in California. And the father hadn't seen his son for 10 years, and the son was behind it. Apparently there's an anti-life movement now. Just anti-life. You're just against life on the planet. And so he took a car, put a bomb in it, and then drove to an in vitro IVF, an in vitro fertilization plant. So you had all these fertilized eggs sitting in all these test tubes, and the guy just blows himself up. That father was still sad. I hadn't seen him for 10 years. He chose to be with his mother because I was more strict on him. But somebody should have seen something. That's what his father said. His father was sad. His father was broken into tears. So, yeah, you don't condone that the son put a bomb in his car and then drove to a fertility clinic and blew himself up and injured 4 others. He said there was body parts on the street. There's one witness said that there was body parts in the street. That was not a good day. That was a bad day. That was a crazy day. But look what's going on in Gaza right now. They're acting like they're going to go ahead and finish the genocide. They're just going to finish the genocide off once and for all. And that's it. And then they're done. Let's keep on reading about some of this stuff. So, you had the Attorney General of Ohio, Dave Yost. He was talking about how the crowdsourced funding online for Rodney Hinton Jr. has gone to $50,000. $50,000, so, well, hell, this is pissing Dave Yost off. Dave Yost is like, what? He's going to make $50,000 for this? And so now he's appealing to the conscience of, it's not GoFundMe. GoFundMe has taken the fundraiser down, but it was this other place called GiveSendGo. And GiveSendGo, because let's be fair, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You just had that white woman, that white supremacist, low-life piece of shit, who called a 5-year-old kid the N-word over and over and over again, sitting there challenging people, flipping people off, being like, what you gonna do about it? Ho? You ain't shit, ho. She's like 100 pounds, talking like she's a sumo wrestler or some crap. And she was able to raise $500,000 off this GiveSendGo. So, when you are getting pissed off at people donating to Rodney Hinton, I'm sure you're saying the same damn thing about that, was it Shiloh Hendricks? About that white supremacist that called a black kid the N-word. You need to cuss at a kid, you could call anybody you know trash, a pile of shit, wretched. There's this, I called this older woman an asshole one time, and I got the cops called on me. She was at the cafeteria in University of Louisville when I was going to college there. And the police officer says, you're so intelligent and so educated, can't you think of another word to say? Besides calling her an asshole? She was being an asshole. And so I said, you're being an asshole. And then I walked away. Then the cops were fucking called. So when she's sitting there calling this little kid the N-word, you're not more educated than that? You couldn't think of a better word? You couldn't think of even if he was mad, even if she said that it took the fucking Capri Sun or something. He was over there taking my baby's Capri Sun. And then she's like, if that's what he's going to act like. Matt Walsh is saying that's the end of cancel culture. She's the final boss to cancel culture. Yeah, to white supremacists, piles of shit. Give me a fucking break. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you're going to criticize Rodney Hinton getting $50,000 from GiveSendGo. I'm sure you're going to say something about that Shiloh Hendrix. You're not just a racist pile of shit, are you? And if you're just a racist pile of shit, well, hell, then that's why you're mad about the $50,000. You're okay with the 5-year-old being called the N-word, and then you hate that a black man got $50,000 for his legal defense fund. In this country, you have a right to be represented. And lawyers cost money. And they're trying to save him from getting the death penalty. So if one side is going to amp their shit up, don't expect the other side not to meet the energy. These prosecutors are pushing for a death penalty. You know what would turn the heat down on this whole thing? You don't need 50 cops going to the damn hearing. Have a proportional amount of police that you think, might be necessary for whatever. You're doing a perp walk and you're trying to show, the intimidation. That was the point. You've already got the point across. You're telling me that there's nothing going on in Cincinnati? That you got 50 cops looking at one guy? I'm sure 5 cops could handle this one guy. So the other 45 cops could go get the murderers and go get the rapists and go get the perverts at the playground and shit. Arsonists. I'm sure there's major crimes happening. 60% of all crimes don't get solved. 60% of all violent crimes don't get solved. So maybe if the police officers aren't doing this massive intimidation perp walk, they're pushing for the death penalty, what would be the worst case? Okay, this guy goes to jail for life. Okay, you were so angry you want to, do a KKK lynching, right? And then now you'll feel bloodlust. Your bloodlust will be satisfied. This almost reminds me of that Luigi Mangione. The same time Luigi Mangione shot that healthcare CEO is the same time that one guy choked a black guy out in the subway. Killed him. So you can choke a homeless guy to death because he said something crazy. That's alright. You can choke a black homeless guy for saying something crazy. Choke him to death till he dies. But a healthcare executive that had kicked a whole bunch of people off of healthcare, therefore they lost their healthcare, they lost their lives. You keep defending crazy shit and then turn around and wonder why crazy shit happened. That's just a basic law of physics. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So if the prosecutors want to turn the tone down a little bit, they don't have to seek the death penalty, push, for life in prison. You don't have to have these perp walks where you have, you're the one putting all this attention on it because you're trying to say, ooh, I'm so mad. Yeah, it's horrendous. It's awful. You seeing what's happening in Palestine? Little baby kids are getting fucking blown to fucking pieces. Baby kids. They're putting the kids back together. Here's an arm there, a leg there. And Israel's saying that they're going to go genocide all of them. And they're not going to feel a damn thing about it. If this is just white supremacist culture, well then shit. No wonder that shit happened in Iraq and Palestine. A bunch of brown folks. Why would a white supremacist give a shit about a bunch of brown folks? But I like to think that it's not a bunch of Confederate Nazi fucking soulless, immoral piles of shit around here. I like to think that there's a lot of Abraham Lincolns and there's a lot of good folks. Of course, you're supposed to judge people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. So, just be even, And then there was something else that they had said too. I want to take a look at this. They said that that cop has not been put on trial. So, Rodney Hinton, I want to say Jr., right? And who is the son? The son's name was something else. And they're suing him for $25,000, and I guess they're trying to make it, crazy. He's suing him for $25 million. You got to file the lawsuit the same time that the charges come down, according to Wallace v. Cato. 2007, Wallace v. Cato says that if it was a wrongful arrest and you didn't file the charges, the civil suit, when the arrest happened, because the accrual happens 2 years after So here's a little bit of it, and I'll actually take a look at it. But this is Rodney Hinton, who's suing the state of Ohio, the Cincinnati Police Department, Sheriff Charmaine McGuffey, in her official and individual capacities, Hamilton County Justice Center, and John Doe's 1 through 10 official and individual capacities. So this is U.S. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, 1985 3. Then there are also 28 U.S.C. 1331, 1343, 28 U.S.C. 1391B. So you can take a look at that case, more. So you keep amping it up one way, and then you turn around and you wonder, I'm concerned with ACAP, who don't even seem to realize the son had a gun on him. This is America. You have a Second Amendment right. Everybody has a right to have a gun on them. You have a right to have a gun on you in the house. You have a right to have a gun on you when you leave the house. That's the Bruin decision. That's Heller, McDonald, and Bruin. This is America. So just presume everybody has a damn gun on them. Now, you're not allowed to pull the gun out. You're not supposed to intimidate people. You're not supposed to threaten people with it. They have a weapon for self-defense. Everybody is allowed to have a weapon for self-defense in America. And then here, this is on Reddit, where they keep on saying his son was killed in the commission of a felony and pointing a firearm at the police. He was pointing a firearm. He wasn't pointing a firearm. Go look at the video. So just repeating crap when you don't know crap. He wasn't pointing a firearm at the police officer. He was stealing cars. He was doing a felony he shouldn't have been doing. He had a gun in his hand. It wouldn't have been that hard for him to turn around and shoot the guy. He didn't technically get shot in the back, but he got shot in the side. Why? Because the guy was running past the cop. He wasn't running towards the cop. He was running past the cop, and the cop was running towards him. And when he got close enough, he shot him. 5 shots or so, 2 shots hit him in the chest. He's going to die right then and there. So all this racist bullshit where you just kind of allege a bunch of bullshit, you're the one that's causing the escalation. If I'm the prosecutor, I would keep this quiet. Aren't you influencing the jury? Aren't you making it prejudicial and biased? They're not even disputing probable cause. They're not even disputing that it was him that did it. They're just saying that he was under emotional distress. He had high emotional distress. So let a jury figure it out. But who killed his son? Who killed his son? A police officer killed his son. Ryan Hinton was shot by the Cincinnati police. So let's take a look at Ryan Hinton. And now, Ryan Hinton could have got shot and killed and nobody would have said a damn word. But now because his father did that, now everybody's talking about Ryan Hinton and Rodney Hinton. So his son didn't just die in vain. Like I said, I don't condone it, but that's definitely a father that loves his son. That was definitely a father that was so brokenhearted that his son was killed, because it happened the day after. The day he heard it, on Tuesday, and then did his foul, evil deed on Wednesday. So the coroner's releasing some of the information. Ryan had 3 gunshot wounds from the police shooting. Who shot him? Who shot him? Because we got the video. You know who the person is. Is he going to get charged with the crime? The killing of, wow, this has got a Wikipedia page. So let's just see if we can, look through some of this and see if we have. So that's the coroner. Hinton had 3 bullet wounds. From who? It was just below the armpit, so that's where he gets shot directly from the side. Not in the front, not in the back. On the side. So it doesn't say who shot him. You got the video, and you could watch the video on your own, when you want. But why is this so hard to find out who shot him? You know who ran over that deputy, right? We all know Rodney Hinton Jr. You see his face. He's, splashed all over the media. The whole world knows who ran over that deputy. But who knows who shot Ryan Hinton? If you're part of the mafia, what would you do? You'd have to, Michael Corleone had to go to Italy for a while. Shot the police officer, and then he had to go to Italy. You got to lay low. And that's what the police are doing right now. The Cincinnati police are laying low. Who shot Ryan Hinton? Well, that guy's in Italy right now. A lot of times they'll be on administrative leave for 2 weeks. But I just feel like as an American, put him on trial. If I'm a cop and I shot a person, is there probable cause a crime could have happened? Well, there's a dead body. You're supposed to get a grand jury indictment first. That establishes probable cause, and then you do the petite jury where they determine if, the final answer, are you guilty or not. And I think that Americans are actually forgiving. You're a police officer, you went to the scene, you tried to do your best, you kind of messed up, you thought this was happening or that was happening or whatever. If you arrested the victim and let the perpetrator go, I think that the jury would, exonerate you and say, well, he did his best. He did his best. So, 18-year-old named Ryan Hinton was killed by the police. Soon afterwards, a retired police officer. It says it needs to be divided into sections. Please improve the article. A request that this article title be changed to Killings of Ryan Hinton and Larry Henderson. So, are they saying who killed Rodney Hinton? Or Ryan Hinton? I can't find anywhere where they said where